Good evening. This is Defacto review for this week. My name is Jargal, and thank you very much for staying with me. We will talk on this review about three important events happened in Mongolia last week. The first topic is about the government of Mongolia action called BIRD. The BIRD operations to bring back some people run out from the country, some people back to Mongolia. Second topic is Development Bank criminal court cases is postponed again for another month. Third topic is about urban revival policy and urban revival forum of Mongolia. So these are three topics I would like to share my opinion about. The first one is about bringing 92 people back to Mongolia. On March 7, Minister of Justice and Home Affairs Nyambatar briefed the progress of investigation of people who fled the country, which is being held in frame of Operation BIRD, a part of 5-ish operations by the government. As the Minister Nyambatar said that the government will bring back 92 defendants who misused their public positions and was involved in corruption. And most interestingly, they put name of those 90 people and +2. The +2 meaning because these two, Mr. Batam Jonai and Mr. Otan Jarkal, who left the country in their own way somehow, but they were not being investigated yet. And now they bring these two persons also into investigation, and they are included into the 92 persons list. Also, the government is sending a letter to General Prosecutor about being not many laws and not enforced on time. Mongolia has with mutual legal assistance agreement with 23 countries, which means that they will help each other to bring or to transfer the accused or prisoners, but not so that the government have, as I said, announced 92 persons' name, which many people find not full name, because there are some 157 or so people names were appearing before to be found and to be investigated, and with the help of Interpol. As I said, 23 countries we have a treatment agreement to help mutually, legally, and those countries will make easier that process. But there are many countries which we have not agreement with. On one side, on the other side, for example, what kind of countries we have with the agreement? It's Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Czech Republic, Slovak Republic, Democratic Korea, Cuba, China, France, Kazakhstan, Poland, Russia, Republic of Korea, Ukraine, Vietnam, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, India, and Canada. And other total 23 countries we have an agreement which will make that life easier. However, doesn't mean that they will immediately release or arrest these people and send to Mongolia, because many countries are always afraid of further arresting some own citizens and making them political prisoner or any other violating human rights actions. So one thing is to announce to bring back these people. The other thing is, in reality, it may happen in a very difficult way. The second almost 90% of these people in the list, the country knows where it is about, so they will ask Interpol, and with Interpol, through our diplomatic relations line, they can bring these people. But however, looking back, the last 30 years, very few accused were brought with the help of Interpol to Mongolia. So that needs to see. The third, they're going to invalidate or expire the passport validity of these people. That means that only they will have 30 days after that invalidation of their passports, expiration, which they will do. But still, it doesn't guarantee that they will come back. And overall, these people, at least they know now that they are going to be caught as a bird, as the program says, but they will do also proper own measurement to avoid that arrests. So the government had announced these lists, but it is not guaranteed that they can do it successfully. So that's so far my take on this first issue about bringing back 92 people who are either in investigation or fled to foreign countries after being investigated, and some of them already being defended and run away. So that's first issue. Second issue is about DBM, Development Bank of Mongolia criminal case. Court is postponed again, second time. Initially, it was in February, then in March, now until the 17th of April. So why is that happening? It is not happening first time. They were before the Development Bank bad loan cases. There were many other cases in this country for last maybe 15 or so years, since 2000, where all these criminal cases at the first level was always postponed due to many reasons, sometimes all the way for 4 or 5 years, so that people after release it, because the clause in the provision that the term of investigation is finished. So many people got no penalty, though they are being corrupt, but there are many cases where this law was not enforced in Mongolia. So it looks like, as Prime Minister said, there is a copper group, coal group, people who are using these two minerals of main export of the country for their own enrichment, and they have been creating political and economic group, and at times they were controlling the state, according to the Prime Minister Oyun Irten. So, and also Mr. Irten said that the court are doing the orders, fulfilling the orders of these two groups of this kind of mafia corruption. They have Prime Minister announced that the court is not working as they're supposed to be, and now with the postponement of this criminal case, the people are really, the ordinary people, public, really at surprise and now watching again. And some reasons why this one was postponed. Now I will introduce to you some of the reasons that the Sukhpata district first level judge or court was given to the public. Say that this criminal case of a certain number, 80 person and 4 legal entity cases, the court had started on March 2nd, 2023 at 9 o'clock in UB Palace. But because the following reason. Defendant Kang Huyik Bayir Chimik, they are abroad on official trip. One reason. The second reason, defendant Munk Bayar, advocate Patsu, and also defendant Sokhpatar's advocate Kambatrach, etc. They have another court cases at the same time. The third, defendant Batabatar, advocate Kansuk, has classes, or defendant Bothu, advocate Tava Jansen, has a health reason, etc., etc. They have requested postponement of this court cases, and that's why they postpone it till April 17th at 30 on 2023. That's what the reason why the case is postponed. And also, according to this official information, there are some 32 defendants, like Battur, Tajamb, Magnai Suring, etc. 32 defendants will be restricted from crossing the border, and because before they were in probation. So another 40 defendants were anyway, they also had no right to go abroad. So altogether by now, everybody is now in a under the border restriction. So just because this reason, the whole case is postponed, and which we ordinary people find quite strange. And those reasons don't sound very appealing for us, and ordinary people really think that maybe the Prime Minister was completely right, that the court system in the country is working under the conducting of those copper and coal groups, corrupt groups in the country. In fact, in this list also the former president Batulga is there, and so the former president Batulga cannot cross the border as well until this case is finished. But overall, it's still shows that really this justice system of the country is not at least working as we do expect. So that's my take on this second issue. Sorry, because I don't know many of these legal words. How does it sound? And my third topic is about rural revival policy, countryside in Mongolia, substantial part. Prime Minister was at this forum, which is organized by the government and with the help of other UN agencies, including also Swiss Development Agency and JICA, Japan, and it was also organized in cooperation with Chamber and Commerce and Chamber of Commerce and Trade of Mongolia. So overall, the Prime Minister had opened that forum. It was very new format, I would say, of the discussions. Prime Minister had brought about achievements for last 30 years of Mongolia, like, for example, per capita income for last 30 years come from $430 USD per capita to $4,600 USD per capita. The population had increased from 2.4 million to 2.4 million to 3.3 million, and the average longevity of Mongolians from 64 to 71 for last 30 years. Substantial achievement, but however, there is several negative results which was ignored from the government for years. For example, today, half of the population live on the territory, 0.3% of the size of the territory. It creates a lot of problem, conjunction, and people keep moving from rural areas to urban areas, and many people also are moving from Ulaanbaatar city to abroad. So what went wrong? That was the analysis of the Prime Minister, and it was basically a general planning error, fault. The economic development was not equally distributed among the territory, among the IMACs in the country, and there was not clear cut policy to develop rural areas in Mongolia. Later on, also there were at this forum speeches by Mr. Hurlbatar, who is the head of now Economic Development Policy, Economic Development Ministry, and also Minister of Finance, also Cabinet Secretary Amarbay Skalan, Minister of Finance Jaholang, who have introduced in their own field the policies the country is going to introduce. In general, it was tax exemption, lower taxes, better conditions for economic businesses in the countryside. But it was also about changing our attitude to the development of countryside in the country. But to me, what was missing was there was not clear-cut economic incentives other than taxes. For example, it could be allowing IMAC and Ulaanbaatar city allowing to issue on bonds, for example, which is not permitted somehow. Ulaanbaatar could have own bonds issued, and with that, also if IMACs too, if with the bond issuing, they will make clear feasibility of how the bonds will be paid back, which will attract investors to buy the bond. For example, like muni bonds in other countries, they can reduce or cut the taxes on, for example, coupon or dividend income of revenue of the investors, etc. And in general, I don't see very clear-cut economic independence of the IMACs, which economically really not very much free. Another thing is they could have, in general, overall in Mongolia, they could have a much less VAT tax, which is 10% now. And with this 10% VAT tax, the largest tax revenue of the country government is now becoming VAT tax, for example, which is not very good sign from the business perspective. So this kind of substantial economic incentives to be also still introduced. That's what my take on this, the rural. So this was our review for this week. So this was our de facto review for this week. We have discussed about 3 issues. One is about the bird operation of the government of Mongolia to get back corrupt officials. Second, about the Development Bank of Mongolia court case is postponed for another month. The third case about the government rural revival policy forum happened in Ulaanbaatar. Thank you very much for being with us. See you next week.